Vast stretches of fertile farmlands unfolded before their eyes, reaching out into the infinite distance, beckoning them to a bustling town teeming with life. Like a stream of ants from an anthill, the road was alive with carts laden with treasures, weaving through the hillside, all converging towards the grand metropolis of Amora Laddus, its towering spires a testament to its majesty. As they left the chaotic hamlet of Pershaw behind, June and Yanna did their best to meld into the vibrant tapestry of swirling commotion. Ignoring the clamor around them, Jun tuned the strings of his lute, his hands moving with a grace born of countless hours of practice. He understood that this particular performance demanded nothing less than his utmost brilliance. As they journeyed past the outskirts of Amora Laddus, the dirt paths transformed into uneven weathered stones, each unique in its placement. The road widened to accommodate a bustling stream of travelers. Drawing nearer to the city, the majestic spires of the castle continued to grow closer. The path soon grew more crowded with villagers, their footsteps resonating through the peaceful countryside. Despite his racing heart, Jun felt a cool, damp air lingering around him. Yanna, still concerned for their safety, voiced her worry. "If we're really going through with this, shouldn't we change our appearances? Someone might recognize us." "No," Jun declared, his voice brimming with assurance. "In this high population, we are two faces in the crowd. Should anyone ask, I am a wandering bard, and you, my gifted musical companion." As they strolled past the horse stables, June remained fixated on the majestic castle towering above them, its lofty spires piercing the heavens. The sight evoked a potent mix of awe and insignificance. Observing the city's layout, each district was mapped out like a sculpture. The lowest tier housed the farming region, while a flight of 15 steps ascended to the residential district, where houses dotted the streets. After a long walk through that district, another flight of stairs elevated them to the bustling markets and thriving businesses of the town. Engulfed by the frenzied pace of the vibrant streets, June and Yanna remained in each other's sight, striving to avoid being swallowed by the surging crowd. The shops in this enchanting town soared high above anything June had ever beheld in the lands of Gulia. There, a color palette of delights awaited at every corner. Wine vendors enticing with their velvet nectar, masterful leatherworkers unveiling their creations, and even skilled clockmakers showcasing their massive grandfather clocks. Each shop boasted its own collection of goods, with a luminous window adorned with a captivating array of treasures. Ascending yet again, Jun discovered this tier to be made of large residences, grand and imposing. Each dwelling spanned the size of two normal village homes. These houses were reserved for the rich and noble families. The nobles parading the streets were dressed in the most impressive attire, the ladies draped in colorful gowns of vibrant hues and varied styles, while the men donned dark tunics accompanied by feathered hats, some adorned with capes. Such lavish outfits were unlike anything Jun had witnessed during his time in Gulia. Before Jun could take another step, Yanna tugged at his arm, pulling him close to whisper in his ear. "Before we venture any further, let us buy some things we need," she urged. Jun put on his best acting voice as he turned to Yanna. "Indeed, my love, fetch us some wine from one of these exquisite establishments. Choose my favorite vintage, and make sure it is a good year." Yanna's expression twisted into one of incredulity as she drew him closer and whispered again, her voice filled with urgency. "Enough with the charade. If we are to gain access to the castle, dressed as peasants, we won't even cross its threshold. Moreover, I need to reload my pistol. I never got the chance since our encounter in the forest." Guiding June back to the bustling market, Yanna weaved through the vibrant shops, stopping in front of the gentleman's coif. Touching June's shoulder, she said, "You know the drill. I'll be across the street in the dress shop." Under the skilled hands of the tailor, Jun was outfitted in a somber tunic, accompanied by flowing trousers and an extravagant feathered hat. The temptations of a cape were thwarted by Jun's humble retort, "No thank you, I'm no caped crusader." Without the cape, the cost amounted to a hefty sum of 20 coins, depleting over half of Jun's savings. Yet, he found peace in the idea that if he played his cards right, he wouldn't need the coins anymore. Emerging from the tailor's shop, Jun worked his way over to the dress shop. Inside, a whirlwind of activity unfolded as three shop maidens rushed about creating Yanna's dress with skillful stitches. With a resigned sigh, Jun settled on a nearby bench, awaiting her return with patience. As Jun sat there, anticipation bubbling within him, his eyes roamed the lively streets of the town, taking in every scene that unfolded before him. The townsfolk moved about, each with their own purpose, creating a vibrant tapestry of existence that enraptured Jun's senses. Amidst the bustling crowd, a couple exuding elegance and refinement approached a distinguished gentleman who was adorned in lavish garments. Their interaction sparked an intense curiosity within Jun, urging him to strain his ears and catch fragments of their conversation. The woman clutched her hand to her heart, her voice trembling despair as she questioned her husband. "Tell me, Owain, I implore you, speak the truth. Has the king condemned his own chancellor to face the noose?" A heavy solemnity settled upon the man's face, his countenance mirroring the gravity of the situation, as he spoke with a burdened voice laden with sorrow and resignation. "Alas, my dear, in the wake of the tragic collapse of Fort Dives, the king has turned his accusing gaze inward. The chancellor, despite his unwavering loyalty, pushed the boundaries one too many times. His unflinching devotion became his tragic undoing." The words exchanged between them pierced Jun's soul like ice, revealing a chilling truth that sent shivers down his spine. In that moment, he realized that not even the king's closest allies were immune to the ravages of his growing paranoia. After 15 minutes, the doors of the dress shop swung open, causing Jun's jaw to drop. Like a dream, Yanna emerged, wearing soothing blue fabrics cascading into a sweeping skirt. Her braided hair intertwined with delicate flowers, and the embroidered top sparkled, hugging her form with grace and modesty. Upon seeing Jun's shock and awe, Yanna voiced her doubts. "It's too much, isn't it? Perhaps the ruffled sleeves were a tad excessive?" Removing his tongue from the floor, Jun assured her, "No, not at all. You look like a masterpiece that belongs in an art gallery. You're beautiful." Yanna blushed as she received the compliment and replied, "I better be, considering how much it cost me." She handed her traveler's bag to Jun, gesturing for him to carry it. "I can't wear a bag with this dress, so I guess it is yours." Mesmerized by Yanna's beauty, Jun took the bag and noticed it was heavier than expected. Curious, he asked, "Why is it so heavy?" Yanna explained, "You mentioned getting a bottle of wine. I picked one up before going to the dress shop. It's Margot Blanc's wine, the highest quality they had." Jun took a moment to examine the bag and inspected the wine inside. The golden label displayed unreadable text to him. However, he realized something was missing from her bag. Stepping closer to Yanna, he whispered, "Your pistol is gone." With a smile, Yanna placed a finger on his lips and replied, "Shh, don't worry." She patted her thigh with one hand and added, "I have it. There are plenty of hiding places beneath this giant skirt." As she pulled her finger away from his face, Jun caught the scent of Yanna's perfumed hands. His mind became flustered as he slung her bag onto his back and commented, "Good thinking. The more discreet, the better." Carrying both Yanna's bag and his lute on his back proved uncomfortable for Jun. He decided to remove the lute and strummed a few chords to ensure they sounded right. The crowded streets proved challenging as Jun followed Yanna towards the stairs. As they ascended, Yanna's dress added an unexpected challenge to the stairs, causing her to giggle with delight. The sun set high in the sky, signaling the approaching noon hour. Jun sensed that it was time for lunch and some merry entertainment. The king would more than likely appreciate some music during his meal. At the very least, they could familiarize themselves with the surroundings. As they approached the castle's front gate, Jun was shocked by what lay before his eyes. Adorning the walls near the portcullis were numerous bards. Some strumming lutes, others playing flutes, and one even carried a makeshift bagpipe. Yanna shot Jun a disappointed look, prompting him to respond, "I wasn't expecting this much competition." They stood there captivated for a moment, observing the bards pouring their melodies into the air. Some play whimsical tunes with undenied talent. Attempting a retreat, Yanna pulled Jun back away from the gate, but he remained steadfast. He held a firm grasp on her hand, saying, "Going somewhere?" Have you lost your edge even before getting in the door? No, Yanna replied, gesturing towards the group of 20 bards nearby. We can come back later. There are... In a playful gesture, Jun released her hand and exclaimed, Unbelievable! You doubt my ability to outshine these amateurs? Turning away from Yanna, his fingers danced across the lute's strings. Behold as I summon my inner Jimi Hendrix. Confused by his reference, Yanna took a step back, allowing him to take charge. Jun's intensity focused as he pondered which song to play. Observing the competition, he made his choice. As Jun began to play, his hands moved like enchanting magic over the strings. A brilliant silvery melody emerged, surpassing the other musicians. It was captivating to witness from a distance, even causing a few bards to halt their own performances and listen to his music. Concluding the first song, Jun transitioned to the next, walking forward. He wanted everyone to hear his music. While passing a bard wearing an elegant blue shirt, their eyes met. In a moment of understanding, the bard nodded with respect, gathered their belongings, and departed away from the gate. This scene repeated with others, one bard after another. Yanna could hardly believe her eyes. The bards acknowledged Jun's superior skills, surrendering their performances. Shifting to his third song, more and more bards walked away defeated from the castle gates, until only a few remained. Coming to an end on one triumphant note, Jun caught one of the bard's unwavering gazes. With bated breath, the bard spoke, I have traversed far across this great land. In taverns both near and far, whispers circulate about a boy who learned from a man named Floyd. They claim Floyd is not a mere man, but the embodiment of music itself. That would be you. Correct? Jun's smile widened, aware that his reputation had spread far and wide. Witnessing Jun's smile, the bard picked up his instrument and extended a hand to Jun. Without a word, Jun shook it with pride. The bard released his hand, bowing to Yanna, and then walked away, leaving Jun and Yanna at the doorway with only two others. One of the few remaining bards approached Jun and Yanna, his flowing white beard serving as a testament to his age and wisdom. With a twinkle in his eye, he cautioned them, Ah, my talented friend, tread carefully with your desires. Should he fail to appreciate your melodies, he won't hesitate to add you to his infamous hit list. Although a shiver coursed down Jun's spine upon hearing his words, his determination remained unwavering. Before he could muster a response, the creaky keep door swung open, revealing a figure adorned in flamboyant purple garments, blinded by the radiant sunlight for a moment. The flamboyant man appeared bewildered at first, then exclaimed, Only 3? Oh my, your kind is truly capricious. He pointed at the trio of bards and declared, Step forth, each of you, but mind your manners. The castle has been in an uproar this day. Following the man's lead, everyone, including Yanna, ventured through the side door and were greeted by a breathtaking sight within the castle's walls. Breathtaking tapestries adorned every corner, while gold and silver embellished everything from drinking goblets to decorative vases. It was a level of wealth that surpassed anything Jun had ever witnessed in this world or his own. The flamboyant man, puzzled by Jun and Yanna's companionship, inquired with a theatrical flourish, Am I mistaken, or do my eyes deceive me? I asked for 3 bards, yet there are now 4 in your midst. Fair maiden, do you possess an instrument? Without skipping a beat, Jun brandished his lute and proclaimed, She is with me, my own personal songstress. She can carry her weight and more. Their eyes flickered towards Yanna as she blushed, performing the best courtesy she could muster. Despite her embarrassment, the flamboyant man remained unimpressed. Yet, he knew he had to work with this crowd tonight. With effortless poise, the flamboyant man commanded the attention of 3 Elestrian castle guards. Take the old bard to the guards' dining hall. Escort the one with the flute to the servants' quarters, he directed. With a self-assured smile, he continued, And this bard and his wife shall be bestowed the grand hall. Jun had the urge to correct the man, but held his tongue, not wishing to draw any more attention to their situation. Without question, the Elestrian castle guards led each of them away as instructed. Following the third guard, Jun and Yanna traversed a series of lavish rooms, each surpassing the last in grandeur. The sheer abundance of gold and riches in every chamber surpassed anything June had ever witnessed. After several more rooms and hallways, the overwhelming wealth became numbing to the senses. Stepping into a lavish side room adorned with riches, the air seemed to hum with an aura of anticipation. Noble figures graced the walls, their hushed murmurs blending with the symphony of elegance. Curiosity danced in their eyes as they eyed the newcomers, their whispered inquiries lingering in the air like fragrant secrets. Arriving in a smaller armaments room, a group of guards approached and delivered their request with authority. "Place all your belongings on the desk and prepare for a search." Without hesitation, June placed down his loot, knapsack, and emptied his pockets onto the table. Yanna, with nothing to surrender, removed her gloves and stood beside June and waited. With an authoritative stride, the guard approached June, his gaze sharp and purposeful. He initiated a thorough pat-down, his trained hand searching for any hidden weapons. June could feel his heart racing, each beat threatening to escape its confines. But then it was Yanna's turn. Graceful and composed, she executed a swift pivot, catching the guard off guard. In a fluid motion, she performed a curtsy, a gesture of elegance. The guard eyed her up and down before he asked, "Any pockets hiding within that expensive dress of yours?" Her eyes shimmering with innocence, Yanna shook her head, denying any concealed compartments. Without uttering another word, the guard abandoned his search, his attention now drawn elsewhere. As a wave of relief cascaded over June's being, he realized that victory was within their grasp. They were on the verge of infiltrating their destination, with only one obstacle left to overcome. While the guards picked over their possessions, June leaned in and whispered into Yanna's ear, "Still think my plan is half-baked?" Standing with the walls of the keep itself, Yanna's expression remained neutral as she replied, "Not anymore. I take it back." Her eyes darted around the room, half expecting a guard to eavesdrop on their conversation, but no one gave them a second glance. Yanna leaned closer to June and continued, "It's entirely possible that the king won't even be near us or share the same room. But if, by some miracle, this works..." Before she could finish her sentence, another guard entered the room, assessing the situation. His gaze shifted from June to Yanna and then to the guards rummaging through their belongings. With a hint of curiosity, he inquired, "What do we have here today? Another wandering bard seeking coin? Or are they requested by the king himself?" The guards' eyes fell upon June and Yanna, their fingers pointing in their direction as they exchanged hushed words. "They are new," one of them uttered. "The usual bards nowhere to be seen today. Seems like it's becoming a trend, you know?" Undeterred by the presence of June and Yanna, the guards carried on with their conversation, discussing the absence of several of their comrades. Whispers of a rebellion's secret weapon had found their way to the capital, filling them with a sense of unease. 10 guards had failed to report for duty on this particular day, adding fuel to their fears. With a tinge of grimness, the second guard chimed in. "If any of those deserters are caught, they'll be shipped off to the depths for 5 years. But truth be told, even we're taking a risk here. Being in the same room as the king when he kicks the bucket could easily get us accused of murder. And you know what that means." In a twist of bitter irony, one of the guards chimed in, his tone at a lower volume. "No good deed goes unpunished, I guess. Just like Sergeant Richter." The words hung in the air, commanding the attention of the entire group. Heads bowed, a collective display of respect for their comrade. It was clear they held him in the highest respect. When their conversation drew to a close, one of the guards extended a hand, presenting June with his loot. "Apologies for the delay," he said with a hint of courtesy. "Your belongings will be safe here until the feast concludes. Take a left at the first door and remain on the stage throughout your performance. Your payment will be arranged afterward." With a single outstretched finger, he directed June's attention toward the bustling hallway, teeming with servants and cooks, scurrying about with laden trays and supplies. Accepting his loot with a nod of gratitude, June interlocked his fingers with Yanna's trembling hand, their connection a small anchor of reassurance in the face of uncertainty. Together they embarked on their journey, making their way towards their intended destination with caution. As they tiptoed around the corner, Yanna's gaze beheld the magnificent grand hall, teeming with a vast collection of nobles, servants, and guards alike. The air was abuzz with anticipation, and 3 grand tables adorned with chairs stood in readiness for the feast. Only one seat remained unoccupied, a large red velvet chair embellished with shimmering gold and crowned by 2 majestic lion heads. If the king was due to grace the hall with his presence, he had yet to make his grand entrance. Jun cast a quick glance over his shoulder, and his heart sank as he caught sight of Yanna's eyes brimming with fear. In that moment, the weight of their situation pressed upon him. Best-case scenario. They seized the opportunity as the king approached, with Yanna drawing her pistol and dealing a fatal blow. They could then vanish into the chaos of the crowd escaping to freedom. But the worst-case scenario still loomed, threatening to shatter their last precious moments together. Yanna's pale face and quivering lips betrayed her nerves, overpowering her calm composure. Though a portion of Jun's mind lingered on the possibility of failure, the rest of his focus remained fixed on Yanna and the thought of never seeing her again. His thoughts raced back to the echoes of Zanag's words, resonating through his mind. The tantalizing image of Yanna swirled before him, tugging at his heartstrings. What would happen to her in his absence? Could she weather the storm without him? For a fleeting moment, he thought about taking Yanna by the hand and leaving, turn back on all of it, and run away before it was too late. A whirlwind of possibilities spun within Jun's mind, and for a fleeting second, he contemplated the idea of a kiss. Such a gesture could ease the tension, reassuring Yanna's troubled mind. Jun leaned in closer to her face and softly whispered, "Hey." Before she could respond, Yanna recoiled and snatched a passing servant's bucket, retching into it. The servant stood there, a mixture of disgust and disbelief etched upon his face. Jun flashed him a reassuring smile and said, "Stage fright. You know how it goes." Once Yanna had finished, she apologized, her voice tinged with embarrassment. The stench was beyond foul. Wordlessly, the servant retrieved the bucket, making his exit to dispose of it outside. Yanna turned back to Jun, wiping her mouth, and regained her composure. She looked at him and said, "I'm all right now. What were you going to say?" Jun, backpedaling on his previous thoughts, changed his mind on that kiss and said, Remember when I played Johnny Cash last night while you sang some lyrics about floating down a river? Well, we're kicking off with that tonight. Unless you want to back out?" Summoning her courage once more, Yanna's hand reached down to her thigh, ensuring the pistol was still within her grasp. A fiery determination blazed in her eyes as she declared, "Never." In a burst of anticipation, Yanna and Jun flung open the curtain, stepping onto the stage as a small cheer erupted from the crowd. Jun adjusted the strings of his lute, stealing a glance at Yanna. "Just like last night, ready?" he asked. Yanna nodded, her confidence rekindled. Jun's fingers plucked the strings, and the clamor of the audience subsided as the melody soon filled the air. Yanna cleared her throat, her voice strong and steady, weaving through the music. Every note she sang captivated the entire hall with beauty. As the crowd savored the performance and revealed the music, Jun's mind churned, contemplating the perfect follow-up song. As the final notes of the tune faded into the air, a wave of applause cascaded through the dining hall, filling the space with an electrifying energy. It was a gratifying moment, validation of their musical performance. Jun couldn't help but lean in close to Yanna, a mischievous twinkle in his eye. "How about that? They love us. Which one should we hit them with next?" Yet before the second melody had a chance to fade, a guard's voice boomed through the hall, demanding attention. "All rise for the king!" In an instant, all sound was drowned out by the synchronized shuffle of 100 seats sliding across the stone floor as every soul in the room stood in unison. A group of guards escorting an aged man adorned in regal attire. With long silver hair cascading down his back and a crimson cape trimmed with white fur billowing behind him, he was none other than King Alestro himself, his shining cane adorned with gems and gold alike. It was a symbol of status and wealth beyond reason. Jun couldn't help but lock eyes with the imposing figure. A whirlwind of emotions played across the king's face, settling on a visage consumed by anger. His trembling finger pointed at Jun as he bellowed, "It's him! Seize him!" In an instant, swords were drawn, glinting in the hall's ambient light. Castle guards surrounded Jun and Yanna. Undeterred, Jun and Yanna remained motionless, their composure unbroken. Jun spoke with urgency, attempting to reason with the guard, closing in on them. Wait. We are only here to play music at this noble gathering." Jun's impassioned plea fell on deaf ears as the guard snatched the lute from his trembling hands. The king bellowed commands to his obedient enforcers. "Remove them all. Who knows how many of these arrogant snobs are in league with him?" Without uttering another word, the remaining guards ushered the hungry nobles from their seats, herding them out through the grand doors. In a matter of moments, the grand hall stood empty, save for Jun, Yanna, the imposing figure of the king, and his legion of loyal guards. Strolling past Jun and Yanna, the king maintained a safe distance, half expecting them to erupt in some unexpected manner. His scrutinizing gaze swept over Jun's figure before he spoke with suspicion and authority. "Search him, and bring me his possessions." Without any hesitation, the guards seized Jun's arms and proceeded to drag him away in silence. While Jun contemplated how he could convince them of their mistake, his worries focused on Yanna, who had disappeared amidst the sea of guards. Helpless to shield her from harm, he felt a wave of concern washing over him. Subjected to another invasive search, the guards scoured Jun's belongings but found nothing of interest. They inspected his loot, half expecting to uncover a hidden weapon. As the guards concluded their fruitless search, Jun mustered up the courage to address them, his voice tinged with desperation. "Surely this is a misunderstanding." But Jun's words fell upon deaf ears, met with silence. None of the guards responded or even spared him a glance. A man adorned in a grander uniform than the rest entered the scene. With a single word, he inquired, "Well?" One of the guards, stationed as a watchful sentinel over Jun, replied, "Nothing, Captain. He possesses nothing of note." The captain's eyes narrowed with anger as he surveyed Jun from head to toe, his voice dripping with disdain. "Search him again, place him in irons, and extract a confession in any way you can. We shall not be perceived as incompetent in the king's presence." Without a trace of hesitation, the guards conducted another thorough search of Jun's belongings and bound his wrists with heavy shackles. Jun let out a sharp breath, his spirit crushed as he found himself in chains for the second time in his life. The guards bombarded him with questions, demanding answers aligned with his perceived misdeeds. For each response that deviated from their desired narrative, they struck him in the face and chest. Minutes turned into an agonizing eternity as each question asked and answered brought cruel stroke upon his already battered body. Time stretched on as Jun eventually ceased his futile attempts to answer their questions. His face and chest held a collection of welts and bruises, painful reminders of the unyielding torment he endured. When the captain returned, he refrained from any inquiries, his voice stern as he issued a commanding order. "Bring him." Lifting Jun by his arms, the guards carried him through the labyrinthine hallways and descended a winding staircase into the bowels of the castle. As they approached their destination, the captain unlocked a door as it creaked loudly. As Jun looked around, he recognized this room as a chamber of unspeakable machines. To his left and right lay torture devices lurked in menacing silence. Dread consumed Jun's very being, for this was his worst nightmares. In his eyes, even death appeared as a merciful escape from the horrors that awaited him within these walls. Marked by bruises and wounds, Jun surveyed his surroundings. His eyes, tired yet vigilant, scanned the area before him. On his right, a horrific stained table displayed his treasured loot, alongside Yanna's knapsack and their scattered belongings. Among the items, the glint of steel caught his attention. Yanna's pistol was among them. To his left, Yanna stood as a captive, held hostage by two guards, her once pristine dress now torn and stained, her face marred by dirt and despair. Jun's heart ached with guilt for involving her in this whole situation. The entire ordeal was his idea. She deserved far better than this cruel fate. With a flicker of hope, He yearned to find a way to persuade the guards to release her. Yet every attempt to speak was met with a brutal blow, the guard's hands smacking his words away, leaving him silenced. The resonating sound of the thump of a cane against the cold stone floor echoed through the air. And in a few seconds, King Alestro emerged, casting his joyful presence upon the room. Yet he wore a smile upon his face. He kept his distance, his eyes, a curious blend of pity and intrigue, fixated upon both June and Yanna. With a touch of sarcasm, he unleashed his words, dripping with skepticism. Ah, behold, the famed warrior, the elusive assassin, the herald of death, sent by the divine, no less? The king prodded June's chest in a playful manner with his trusty cane, hoping to entice a response. Shaking his head away from the cane, June's voice quivered. I am no assassin. I am but a humble bard. I seek only to fill these halls with music and earn a few meager coins for my troubles. Deceptions? The king sneered, yanking his cane away from June's bewildered face, relishing in his torment. Ah, I know the secrets of your origin, valiant warrior. June's features twisted in confusion, while the king retreated and clapped his hands. From afar, 4 servants emerged, laboring to carry a small shrine constructed with sturdy iron straps binding its wooden frame. As the servants departed, the king approached the shrine, unlocking its front doors with the key. Within the confines of the shrine lay a radiant gemstone, its glow reminiscent of the sun, nestled in a shroud of darkness. June's eyes widened as he immediately recognized it from the ancient scroll. It was the fabled Umbral Capstone. The glowing radiance of the gem was only topped by its unlimited power. The king plucked the capstone from its resting place, cradling it in his palm. With a touch of bitterness, he murmured, "The god's power, once mine to wield. Power stripped away with cruel intention." He returned the gem to its enclosure, sealing it shut with the key. Turning his attention to June, the king declared, "Enjoy your view of the Umbral Capstone, while you can, for this is the closest you will ever get to it." The king rubbed his hand together, relishing his moment. He said, "Even if you do not know it, you have come to claim my life." Getting one last chance to speak, June shouted, "I insist. I am no warrior. I am a musician, that is all. At least let my assistant go. She has done nothing to offend you." Nodding his head, the king returned his key necklace to the safety of his neck. Then he looked to Yanna and waved his hands to the guards as he said, "Release her." The guard let loose Yanna's arms as she rubbed her restrained wrists. The king stepped over to the nearby table that held June and Yanna's personal belongings on it. The king snatched Yanna's pistol, brandishing it with an air of authority, examining its every detail. In that moment, June's gaze locked with Yanna's as her face went white as a sheet. With an air of malevolence, the king brandished the pistol and thrust it in June's face. His eyes locked with insidious intent. "This foul contraption hails from your world, does it not?" the king inquired, his voice laced with a curiosity. Seething with a growing hatred for the king, June said nothing. Each moment of silence only fueled the flames of the king's temper. "Your first mistake was leaving too many survivors. The men from Fort Dives explained to us how your weapon works." Frustrated by the lack of response, the king displayed the weapon before June. The king's tone took on a sinister twist. "You don't have to speak. No, for now, I want you to watch." Standing up straight, the king aimed the pistol at Yanna. With a swift, decisive motion, he slapped the striking pin with his cane as the weapon erupted in a dense plume of smoke. June's eyes widened, and a scream erupted from the depths of his being. Though obscured by the haze, he knew the grim reality that had just unfolded. The pistol slipped from the king's grasp as he exclaimed, "My hand!" Clutching his stinging hand, the king winced as the smoke began to dissipate. As June had anticipated, the clearing smoke revealed Yanna's lifeless form sprawled upon the floor. Her once lustrous, flowing hair lay motionless, contrasting against the trickle of blood flowing her gown. June's fury dwindled, replaced by a profound sense of loss, as he grasped the irrevocable truth. She was dead. Enveloped in rage, June struggled against the relentless grip of the guards that restrained him. Alas, his struggle proved futile, their firm grip rendering him powerless, as he unleashed an anguished scream. Observing the tumultuous spectacle, the king lowered his cane, his tender hand massaged with the other. With an air of authority, he uttered words imbued with bitterness. "Now you understand my plight. That which you yearn for, snatched away from your grasp." The king's gaze turned back to the shrine of the capstone, evoking a profound sense of disdain. Despite great effort, the king stepped back to the shrine and marveled at the glowing gem hidden behind the bars. "I have been unable to provide my people with a worthy heir. For what is a realm without a sovereign? An abyss of anarchy and senseless strife." The king's voice wavered, then ceased. After a breath, he continued, "I used my wish to provide the kingdom with a worthy heir, a selfless wish to benefit my people. Yet the goddess Thyrnir spurned my desires. Not only did she deny me, but she bestowed upon me the cruelest of irony. She granted me a haunting vision of the very man who would destroy my kingdom. I witnessed a man plummeting from the heavens, plucked from some infernal realm." A deluge of thoughts flooded June's mind as the weight of the king's revelation settled upon him. The answer to his long-burning question that he had stopped asking himself. Turning around, the king continued as if giving a speech. "Oh, the terror that gripped my heart when I witnessed your fall, only to see you rise again and walk away. A man who defies death itself. What manner of monstrous being are you?" Returning to June, the king kneeled down to look at June's tormented face. Then he said, "But as you did, I saw your face. The same face that stares back at me now, the face of my every waking nightmare." Rage once again surged through June's being, his voice quivering with intense emotion. You brought me to this wretched place. You old fool. It is all because of you. You've unleashed this madness upon yourself." Jun unleashed a torrent of hateful word, hurling insults from his own world that the king and his guards had never heard before. After a relentless minute of unbridled tirade, Jun paused, gasping for a breath that echoed with the weight of his seething anger. Returning to the table, the king countered, "Keep it up, boy. I want Thyrnir to witness her mighty warrior squirming under the weight of my thumb. If she's watching now, she'll come to realize that I transcend mere mortal limitations." The king reached for Yanna's knapsack, removing the bottle of Margot Blanc's wine, adorned with the shimmering gold label. Raising it before June's eyes, he taunted, "Sure expensive taste for filth, such as yourself. Were you saving this for a celebration? Of course not. Shall have a toast. To good friends? Or perhaps the demise of our fallen allies?" Snapping his fingers, the king summoned a servant who presented 2 goblets, made with gold and silver. With confidence, the king uncorked the bottle and filled both glasses. Extending one of the goblets towards Jun, he waited for him to accept. However, Jun remained motionless as fire coursed through his veins, rendering him immobile. Seizing the opportunity, the king withdrew the drink and spoke with a sinister smile curling on his lips. "You really should partake, my friend. You'll need every ounce of it. Just take a look around." The king gestured to the array of torture devices nearby, an ominous reminder of the horrors awaiting. "All of these have been prepared for you. If Thyrnir won't heed my prayers, perhaps she'll listen to yours." With a nonchalant sip from the glass, the king leaned back, grimacing look on his face. "Oh, how bitter it is. A terrible vintage this bottle is." As the king strolled back to the table, he placed the 2 goblets down and rubbed his weary eyes. His vision grew hazy as he turned his gaze towards Jun. A twisted expression crept upon his face, contorting it with a mix of anger and confusion. With a heavy stride, the king made his way to one of the sinister torture machines, dropping his cane and leaning against the machine for support. Jun and the 4 vigilant guards in the room stood motionless, as the king's once commanding presence degraded right before their eyes. His words faltered, leaving him grappling for meaning as his eyes turned bloodshot. Struggling for breath, the king weakly raised his trembling hand, pointing at Jun, before collapsing to the floor in violent convulsions. The 2 guards who had been restraining Yanna rushed to aid their fallen leader, dropping to their knees beside him. However, their efforts proved futile in the face of the king's deteriorating condition. He writhed in agony, coughing up droplets of blood. With the utmost urgency, one of the guards cried out, "Summon the royal physician! This instant!" Both of the two knights who had been keeping a watchful eye on June fled the scene, abandoning their post and leaving June unguarded. Still reeling from the shock, June remained frozen in place, his eyes darting towards Yanna's lifeless body lying nearby. One of the remaining knights turned to June, bellowed with a voice of fury, "What have you done to him? Tell me!" His hands bound by shackles, June raised them in a gesture of helplessness as he replied, "Nothing. I did nothing. You saw what just happened. I was just standing here." As the king's life slipped away, a new tension filled the air. Not from June, but from the guards. Amidst the fading breaths of the king, a light of rebellion ignited within one of guards. Rising from his position, he declared, "I shall not bear the burden of this blame. Forgive me, brother." His words hung heavy as he ran away in fear, the echoes of his armor bouncing off the walls with each step. His partner's desperate pleas fell upon deaf ears, for it was too late. The king's final breath escaped his lips, his eyes glazed over. Removing his gauntlets, the knight reached out to seek the king's pulse. Alas, there was none. As the king's lifeless body lay on the cold floor of his own torture chamber, a gust of wind swept through the window, toppling a crumpled paper from the table onto the ground. Curiosity piqued, June stooped to examine the fallen paper, and there, in faded ink, he discovered a single word: Belladonna. In that instant, realization clicked into June's mind. Yanna, in her own enigmatic way, had saved his life yet again. June's newfound awareness brought with it a stark reality. He now stood alone within the chamber, with only one solitary guard. Time was against him. Soon the two knights would return accompanied by the royal physician. Advancing forward, June's voice resounded with newfound authority. "I know what's wrong with him," he proclaimed, his eyes fixed upon the king's lifeless form. Kneeling down, he inspected the royal body, while the guard awaited his revelation. Seizing the opportunity, June pulled the key dangling from the king's necklace, wrenching it from his motionless body. Clasping the key within his fist, he turned to face the guard and uttered, "He's dead." With those words hanging in the air, June unleashed a brutal punch into the guard's open helmet, sending him sprawling backward in agony. The shackles forced him to swing his hand with both arms, but June regained his footing. As he did, the chamber door swung open with a furious bang. The two guards and the royal physician had returned, their gazes filled with concern for the king's safety. Climbing to his feet, June sprinted towards the sacred shrine, housing the Umbral Capstone. With trembling hands, he fumbled with the key, the metallic clang echoing the room. He caught the ominous sound of two unsheathed swords from the approaching guards. Time seemed to warp as he unlocked the door and thrust his shackled hands onto the fabled stone. In that instant, everything froze. June braced himself, half expecting the cold steel of dual blades piercing his back. Yet, to his astonishment, everything stood motionless. The guards became living statues, frozen in their aggressive stances. The room itself transformed into a suspended painting. Even the fallen guard clutching his bloodied nose remained halted in agony. A look of bewilderment ran across his face as June gazed at the surreal scene. However, his thoughts were shattered as a voice thundered through the silence like 1,000 bolts of lightning. The room blazed with an ethereal glow as the resounding voice declared, "Welcome, June of Yorktown. I am Thyrnir, the majestic goddess of love, mercy, and compassion. Not all mortals have the strength of heart to touch the Umbral Capstone, and thus you have gained my attention. What is thy heart's desire?" Caught off guard for a fleeting moment, June's mind spun, grappling with the enormity of conversing with a divine entity. He stammered, I apologize, Thyrnir. I have never spoken with an actual god before." Despite her godly presence, June's gaze drifted back Yanna's lifeless body. A hint of regret laced his voice as he said, "Thyrnir, I know what I want most. It is the only thing I have wanted since I have been here in this land." His voice trailed off into a pause, his emotions swirling within. Then he added, but I didn't realize what it would cost." In a voice of cosmic wisdom, Thirnir responded, "June, from your first moments I witnessed your journey through the land of Gulia. You seek to return to your rightful home, the realm of Earth. Simply utter the words, and I shall grant you passage back to your cherished realm. It is the desire ingrained within your heart." The words danced on the edge of his tongue, eager to break free. Could he leave this world in this state? With an unwavering gaze fixed upon Yanna's body, June remained a captive of his own conscience and guilt. In a profound moment of self-reflection, June's gaze shifted back to the majestic capstone, drawing forth a wellspring of courage from the depths of his being. With determination, he spoke with conviction. "My heart has changed. I want you to fix it. All of it. Every soul claimed by King Alestro or his knights, bring them back." As June's plea hung in the air, the radiance of the divine goddess flickered with a hint of uncertainty. Thirnir hesitated and posed a question in return. "Are you certain of this? For it shall be your sole and solitary wish?" June's head shook as his gaze ascended to the celestial beam of light. He uttered, "I am sure." A glow of astonishment danced within Thirnir's godly light. Her voice resonated with warmth as she said, "Such an extraordinary act of compassion." The light flashed with an intense otherworldly power as she declared, "It is done." As the exchange between June and the goddess transpired, the ethereal radiance faded, relinquishing its hold on the frozen world. June withdrew his hands from the capstone, only to find himself confronted by two knights, determined to stop him. However, before they could reach him, June raised his hands as his shackles glowed white-hot and disappeared before their eyes. Shock fell over the men as the walls and floor beneath their feet convulsed, toppling the guards to the ground. June held on to the capstone shrine to stabilize himself. Once the tremor subsided, June darted towards Yanna with desperation. Pulling her fragile form into his arms, he witnessed a miraculous spectacle. The bullet, once lodged within her chest, tumbled out onto the floor as a harmless piece of lead. The stunned guards bore witness to this astonishing sight, their disbelief etched upon their very faces. Yanna's eyes fluttered open as the rhythm of her breathing resumed. With her consciousness returning, Yanna gazed into June's eyes, her voice trembling with disbelief as she asked, "What happened?" A mischievous smile danced upon June's lips as he replied, a touch of intrigue coloring his words. "Not much, just paying my debts." One of the knights connecting the dots between the shrine of the capstone, June's actions, and Yanna revival. Voicing in his astonishment, he shouted, "What magic have you unleashed?" Before another word could be said, a symphony of screams erupted throughout the castle as departed souls long dead began to reappear. From the depths of the courtyard, a guard's urgent cry pierced the chaos. "Hurry, one and all! The gallows, Sergeant Richter and his men have returned!" As the air crackled with anticipation, the occupants of the torture room climbed to their feet, surging toward the staircase. Propelled by confusion and euphoria, they ascended into the grandeur of the castle's main hall. In a breathtaking spectacle, servants, guards, and nobles alike dropped to their knees, overcome with joy as long-lost kin emerged from out of thin air, rushing into their outstretched arms. The castle pulsated with raw emotion as siblings dashed towards their long-lost parents with tearful reunion. The guards and the royal physician stood paralyzed by the scene, their authority rendered powerless in the face of such a magnificent sight. They could only watch, their eyes wide with wonder, as the beautiful chaos unfolded before them. With a silent understanding passing between them, June and Yanna strode towards the exit, their steps resolute amidst the symphony of laughter, tears, and heartfelt conversations that filled the air. Among the frenzy, a figure draped in regal robes made an entrance through the keep doors, prompting someone to shout, "Chancellor Erx! The Chancellor returns! By the divine gods, what is happening?" Offering a subtle nod of acknowledgement to the Chancellor, June and Yanna continued their passage outside, their steps unbroken in the bewildered castle. Yet, as they emerged into the bustling city streets, the pandemonium continued. Ordinary citizens witnessed the impossible, as tender reunions of family and friends erupted in the streets. Fathers, brothers, sisters, all returned from the dead, untouched by the passage of time. Reaching the outskirts of Amora Laddus, Yanna withdrew from June's embrace and, using her sleeve, wiped away the dried blood from his mouth. Cuts and bruises still fresh on his face. Bathed in the golden embrace of sunlight, Yanna's radiant smile emanated a comforting warmth and sympathy as she said, "You're a mess. I'm sorry you couldn't go home." "I'm not sorry," June declared with his unwavering conviction. "What awaits me at home? Mountains of college debt, an empty apartment, and a car that's probably been repossessed by the bank by now. The longer I thought about my life back home, the less I wanted it." June paused, his words lingering on his lips, before pressing on. "And the more I yearned for something else." Yanna's smile widened, and she reached up to caress his cheek with a delicate touch. Her voice softened as she asked, "What is it that you want?" Brimming with confidence, June drew closer, sweeping away a strand of hair that obscured her eyes. Yanna's gaze flickered with confusion, and a hint of hesitation flashed across her face. Ignoring his doubts, June grabbed her around the waist as he did before. He pulled her in and moved his lips closer to hers, feeling a jolt of electricity as they met. An expressive shock washed over her face, but then something changed, as if a spark had been ignited. June felt Yanna lean into him, her arms wrapping around his neck as the kiss deepened. The sunlight seemed to dance around them as they stood there, lost in the moment as the entire world melted away. After a kiss that seemed to stretch on forever, they finally pulled apart, breathing hard and grinning at each other. Jun intertwined his fingers with hers as he declared, "Sorry to keep you waiting. I should have done that sooner." A mischievous smile danced on Yanna's lips. "Indeed, you should have," she retorted with a playful tone. Rising on her tiptoes, she rewarded him with a second kiss, just as enchanting as the first, sealing their newfound connection. Afterwards, June gently pressed his forehead against hers, their hearts beating in synchrony. In a tender whisper, he replied, "I hate to disappoint you like this, but we have some more traveling to do." Yanna pulled back, her eyes filled with a delightful confusion. "Where are we going?" "To Murtia Village," June revealed, his voice tinged with anticipation. "There is something there that I'm sure will leave you breathless." As the sun marched across the sky, June and Yanna stood together hand in hand. They had been through so much together, but their troubles were over. Overhead, birds chirped and sang, serenading the couple in their moment of happiness. Taking Yanna by the hand, June led her away from the city of Amora Laddus. They walked down the winding path, talking and laughing like they had always done, this time not walking away from their past but towards their future together.